Drop this 10C pharmacy tablet in dark water, instant swarm. But pray you never find out. I took a cheap 10-cent denture cleaning tablet, the exact same kind you buy in the pharmacy aisle to scrub plaque off false teeth overnight, and secured it just above a bare hook using a tiny rubber band. I was standing on the muddy bank of a heavily pressured, tannin-stained farm pond. Visibility in this dark water was absolutely zero. You couldn't see your hand 6 inches below the surface. I dropped that pharmacy tablet into the murky depths and started a stopwatch. I didn't cast. I didn't twitch the rod tip. I just let the raw chemistry do the heavy lifting. At exactly 47 seconds, the dead water began to boil. Dozens of fish, largemouth bass, bluegill, and channel catfish, converged on that specific spot, violently circling the fizzing tablet and aggressively attacking the area. I dropped a bathroom product into this dark water and counted on my watch, and the results mathematically dismantled a tackle box full of expensive gear. The multi-billion-dollar fishing industry prays you never see this, because what happened under that water was not luck. It was the flawless execution of a biological phenomenon called dual sensory hacking. Welcome to the only community on the internet dedicated to exposing the raw physics, the forgotten biology, and the strictly suppressed methods that the modern tackle industry hopes you never discover. We are building a movement of anglers who trust organic chemistry and hydrodynamics over glossy marketing campaigns and overpriced synthetic plastics. If you are tired of watching your hard-earned paycheck dissolve in the water, and you want to finally understand the actual science of why predatory fish strike, hit that subscribe button right now. We are taking the power back from the corporations, one cast at a time, and sharing the suppressed knowledge that puts fish on the bank. Today, we are breaking down the absolute illusion of the modern artificial lure market. Walk into any major sporting goods store, and you will see entire aisles dedicated to hyper-realistic swim baits and crankbaits. The industry charges you $20, sometimes $30 for a piece of injection-molded plastic. They laser-etch the gill plates, they add holographic finishes, and they print realistic 3D eyes on the baits. They engineer these lures to look absolutely perfect to a human standing under the fluorescent lights of a retail store. But the neuroscience of aquatic predators does not support the assumption that fish hunt based on hyper-realistic visual details, especially not in dark, turbid water. When you drop a plastic lure into muddy water, it is biologically inert. It does not vibrate on its own. It does not dissolve. It does not create a dynamic chemical plume. It simply sits there, lifeless, waiting for a fish to accidentally swim close enough to see it or smell the weak, factory-applied scent that washes off in 3 casts. You are relying entirely on visual deception in an environment where vision is the least effective sense. But when you deploy a 10-cent effervescent denture tablet, you are not waiting for the fish to find you. You are actively reaching out into the dark water and aggressively hacking 2 completely separate neural pathways in the fish's brain at the exact same time. Biologists refer to this reaction as a forced approach response. Let us break down the first pathway of this biological trap, the mechanical acoustic trigger. The moment that white pharmacy tablet hits the water, a violent endothermic chemical reaction begins. The sodium bicarbonate in the tablet immediately reacts with the citric acid, creating a continuous rhythmic stream of carbon dioxide bubbles. But these are not just random bubbles. As they form and escape the dissolving tablet, each bubble measures exactly between 0.3 and 0.8 millimeters in diameter. They rise in a tight vertical column. As the water shears against the dissolving matrix and the bubbles break free, they produce a highly specific sequence of low-frequency acoustic vibrations, measuring exactly between 10 and 200 hertz. In the aquatic world, that 10 to 200 hertz frequency range is not just random noise. It is the exact, identical hydrodynamic signature of a dying, crushed baitfish struggling on the bottom. Fish do not hear these fast-moving pressure waves with external ears. They feel them through the lateral line, an ancient, highly evolved sensory organ running down both sides of their body. The lateral line is packed with microscopic gel-filled neuromast cells that detect minute pressure gradients in the pitch black of the water column. This system is so breathtakingly precise that a mature largemouth bass can feel the microscopic twitch of a mosquito larva from over 3 feet away. When the denture tablet generates that precise 10 to 200 Hz vibration signature, the fish's lateral line detects the acoustic pressure waves and sends an immediate signal to the brain. The brain interprets that specific frequency as a desperate, struggling prey animal. It initiates an involuntary motor response, forcing the fish to move toward the vibration before it ever establishes visual confirmation. But creating an acoustic dinner bell is only the first half of the trap. If the fish approaches the sound and finds nothing but a piece of fizzing chalk, its natural caution will take over and it will turn away. You have to force the commitment. And that is where the second neural pathway engages, the chemical trigger. Almost every commercial denture cleaning tablet on the market contains menthol or peppermint oil as a standard flavoring and cooling agent. In human beings, menthol creates a soothing, cooling sensation in the mouth. But in the aquatic environment, menthol acts as a potent, aggressive biological stimulant. When the tablet dissolves, the menthol molecules do not just mix evenly into the water. Menthol is highly hydrophobic. It repels water. Instead of fully dissolving, the peppermint oils form millions of microscopic lipid clusters that drift in a state of suspension, carried outward by the subtle thermal currents of the lake. As these drifting hydrophobic clusters pass over a fish's highly sensitive olfactory receptors, they violently activate the trigeminal nerve. The trigeminal nerve is the fifth cranial nerve, responsible for detecting environmental irritants, noxious chemicals, and sudden temperature changes. When a bass or a walleye encounters this menthol cloud, it does not register it as a piece of food, and it does not produce a sensation of comfort. The nervous system interprets the chemical irritant as a glaring sign of environmental disturbance. It violently heightens the fish's neurological alertness. Now, look at the trap you have just engineered inside the fish's brain. From a distance, the lateral line is receiving a mechanical acoustic signal, screaming that a prey animal is dying and vulnerable. At close range, the trigeminal nerve is being bombarded by a highly unusual, arousing chemical stimulus that forces the fish into a state of hyper-alertness. The fish's central nervous system is receiving two massive, conflicting signals simultaneously. Something is struggling, and something highly irregular is happening right here. The fish cannot simply swim away. Its evolutionary programming forces it to resolve the contradiction. The brain is compelled to perform an investigative strike. It must taste the object to understand the anomaly. This dual sensory hacking is not just a theory. I tested this exact method across 3 distinct bodies of water, and the results completely shattered the marketing claims of the $9 billion tackle industry. The first test was conducted in a murky retention pond with moderate visibility and a water temperature of 68 degrees. I secured the 10-cent tablet 6 inches above a size 2 circle hook using a tiny rubber band and lowered it into 4 feet of water. I did not twitch the line. I let the chemistry do the work. At exactly 34 seconds, the first shadow appeared. At 1 minute and 12 seconds, the fish did not just nibble. It attacked the dissolving foam residue directly, violently inhaling the hook. I pulled a 14-inch largemouth bass out of water that had not produced a single bite for the previous 90 minutes, using a premium Texas-rigged soft plastic worm. The second test was in a heavy river current with stained water and visibility under 18 inches. Because the current sweeps the bubbles away much faster, I doubled the payload, securing 2 tablets in tandem above the hook. The current dispersed the acoustic bubbles rapidly, but the hydrophobic menthol concentration expanded proportionally downstream. Within 2 minutes, a smallmouth bass and a rock bass were actively competing for the same strike zone. The smallmouth won. I landed it, reset the rig with a fresh tablet, and had another fish on the line within 90 seconds. But the third test was the most revealing piece of biological evidence. I deployed the pharmacy tablet rig in a heavily pressured farm pond at dawn, a time when feeding activity is typically at its lowest point due to overnight satiation. These fish had seen every topwater lure, every spinner bait, and every expensive soft plastic on the market. They were educated, paranoid, and locked down. I mounted a waterproof camera to a PVC frame and submerged it directly next to the rig to record the interaction. The footage captured something the tackle industry desperately hopes you never see. The fish did not just approach and strike blindly. They swarmed. 5 separate bass, ranging from 10 to 16 inches, formed a tight, loose perimeter around the fizzing tablet. They studied the continuous stream of microbubbles. Then, driven by the overwhelming, conflicting signals of the acoustic vibration and the trigeminal nerve irritation, they darted in one by one. They made contact not with pure feeding aggression, but with forced investigative strikes, aggressively mouthing the exact area where the bubbles and menthol originated. When visual input is restricted in dark water, a fish defaults to a taste-then-decide strategy, using its buccal cavity to sample the object. The tablet did not just attract them, it neurologically forced them to taste the hook. I caught 11 fish in 43 minutes using a single pharmacy product replaced 3 times. The total cost of the attractant was 40 cents. The modern tournament industry operates on the deeply flawed assumption that fish are sophisticated enough to distinguish between natural prey and artificial lures based on realistic paint jobs. That assumption justifies a massive market of hyper-realistic, expensive baits. But neurobiology proves that fish do not think, they react. Their reactions are governed by ancient hardwired sensory thresholds that can be completely hijacked with a cheap bathroom product. In highly pressured waters, where fish have been conditioned to avoid the mechanical, unnatural rattling of a $20 commercial lure, the fizzing tablet operates entirely outside of their learned avoidance framework. It is completely novel, it is biologically disruptive, and it is devastatingly effective. Here is exactly how you bypass the corporate supply chain and deploy this 10-cent sensory hack on your next trip. Go to any local pharmacy or grocery store and buy the cheapest box of effervescent denture cleaning tablets you can find. Look for the generic unbranded boxes that contain mint or baking soda formulations. You will also need a pack of tiny, clear, orthodontic rubber bands. When you arrive at your fishing spot, rig your line exactly as you normally would with a bare hook or a simple piece of natural bait. Take one single tablet, place it flat against your fishing line approximately 6 inches above your hook, and wrap the small rubber band tightly around both the line and the tablet to secure it in place. The spacing is absolutely critical. You want the tablet suspended just above the hook, not touching it directly. As the tablet dissolves and the carbon dioxide bubbles rise vertically, they create a visual and acoustic column that draws the fish's attention upward, while the heavy, lipid-based menthol scent slowly drifts down to blanket the hook itself. Cast the rig gently into the dark water, let it settle to the bottom, and completely slacken your line. Do not jig it. Do not pop the rod tip. Do not interfere with the chemical reaction. Let the sodium bicarbonate and citric acid hiss and crackle. Let the menthol lipids flood the water column. You only have a 4 to 6 minute window of peak effervescence, so keep your hands near the reel and wait for the lateral load on your rod tip when the fish investigates the anomaly. It is time to stop funding the massive quarterly earnings reports of tackle corporations that sell you inert, dead plastic at exorbitant markups. The raw biology of a predatory fish has not changed in millions of years. They hunt by detecting micro-vibrations, tracking chemical gradients, and resolving sensory anomalies in their environment. By combining the acoustic distress signal of carbon dioxide bubbles with the neurological irritation of hydrophobic menthol, you are not tricking a fish with a painted toy. You are commanding its central nervous system. If this deep dive into the raw, suppressed science of fishing changed the way you look at your tackle box, we want you in this community. We rely on everyday anglers to test these methods and share this knowledge before it is buried by sponsored tournament coverage and glossy magazine ads. Drop a comment below right now and tell me, have you ever accidentally dropped something bizarre into the water? A household item, a piece of food, or a bathroom product, and watched fish react to it in a way that surprised you? I read every single story, and the experiences you share in the comments often become the foundation for our next major scientific field test. Keep your hooks sharp, trust the raw chemistry of the water over the promises on the packaging, and I will see you out there.